get that woman off my mind. I've never been the brooding kind, but there's still one thing makes me come alive. Yeah, I'm going for a drive.
The following podcast is rated D for dumb. You're listening to Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. Listen to Dave commute to and from work on the New York State Thruway in his 2008 Kia Rio LX. He talks about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. Join Dave as he asks and tells you how life ought to be. And now, here's Dave.
All right. That's fantastic. Everything working out great in this show. April 6th. It is, almost 7 o'clock. I'm northbound on the Thruway. You ready to dumb it down? I almost didn't get that out. I had a little air bubble somewhere between my fully engulfed, enraged, and inflamed belly up to my throat. Somewhere there was like, are you ready? Are you ready? So, yeah, are you ready to dumb it down? You guys really got together. You decided the consensus was, yes, we're ready to dumb it down. Let's do it. We got to get to it real quickly. Got a lot to talk about. April 6th, northbound, the New York State Thruway. I'm on my way to work. Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. You know, I do 2 shows a week, one on the way to work and usually on the one on the way back a couple of days later. So today is the Monday on my way to work show, and I have a lot to talk about. I'm not as prepared as usual. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, I'm unprepared to do the show because I am dealing with 20 different things. I'm a one-man show, one-man staff, not using it as an excuse. I'm just informing you as to what kind of a life I'm living and still doing a podcast. I'm living a type of life that I have to do the podcast in my car because it's the only free time I have. I don't have a studio. I don't have a closet. I just really can't do the show at home, especially now with the wife at home and she's doing her thing. She's got Zoom meetings, and you know we have cable issues, we have Corona issues, we have family issues. We're just spinning so many plates. I have sleep issues. I have health issues. I have financial issues. I have my son issues. It's just amazing how many things are plates that I'm spinning. No different from you. I know you are. I'm not trying to make myself special or different. I'm just being pragmatic and doing the best I can to keep the plates spinning one at a time and trying to prioritize those plates. And within those plates, there are other plates. There are smaller sub-plates that are spinning. It's like all these different universes. You know how you have the sun and then all the planets rotate around the sun? Well, I have a whole bunch of different suns, S-U-N, all a bunch of different suns, and there's a whole bunch of different planets, or plates all spinning around that sun, those suns. It's quite amazing. I really should try to write it all down, but then again, that would create yet another sun and another series of plates I have to sit there and write down and describe somehow in words, or describe, which I think I just did, or in some sort of drawing. Like, what am I talking about? But it's a lot. There's a lot going on. Dave's life is usually very busy, but that's why I try to dumb it down so I can understand it in my short commute, and that you can understand it if you're listening to my commute during your commute. All right, pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. We're doing the best we can to keep the show rolling. I think this is like episode 213, possibly 213, 214. We're moving. Jeez, we're almost at 300. I better get ready. I got big plans for show 300. Jeez. Anyway, God willing, I'm alive. One of the other things that's hovering is this. I kind of feel like the Corona is closing in. Maybe that's paranoia talk. I don't think it is. I don't like the fact that we're all exposing. Not all. I would like this to happen, and some of you might think I'm crazy. And by the way, it's a classic conversation. 2 different sides of the issue. I have other classic 2 different sides of the issue I want to get to. I'm going to get to it real quick. But this Corona thing, this is what I want to see happen. I would like the president, I would like this administration, and I have no bias, I have no agenda, I don't lean left, I don't lean right, I walk forward towards the truth. I would like this administration to say, ladies and gentlemen of the United States, and whatever, surrounding blah, 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 republics and whatever, the territories that we, Guam or whatever, Puerto Rico, we're closing it down. We're shutting down. Life as you know it is going to drastically change for the next 5, 12, 14, 21 days. Don't create a panic, but he will, because there's no way you could not create a panic. I'm letting you know that on this day, how about this? Not tomorrow at midnight. On this day, a week from today, or 3 to 5 days from today, I'm shutting it down. But you can't say that, right? Because then everybody will flip out. Sam's, Walmart, Target, everybody will go. There'll be no toilet paper. There'll be nothing of nothing. Everything will be gone. By the way, I did instruct my wife the other day to go to Sam's, and she spent about $300. $300 on canned goods and all this other stuff to make sure that we have something if they do a last-minute lockdown. And for some reason, we have a case of Carnation Instant Milk. I have no idea. We've never had Carnation Instant Milk in the house, but I guess that's one of the things you want to have, right, when you're in a lockdown. But I tell you what, folks, if I were you, I would consider it. I would consider going to Sam's and spending $300 to $500. I think if I go with her right now, we can go to Sam's and spend another $300. Enough that you could be in your house for the next, whatever it is, whatever the numbers that the doctors, Fauci and the lady there, the vice president, whoever are the experts, we need to shut it down and stop it. Stop it. Whatever you do, I am not essential. They say I'm essential because I drive a truck and I'm delivering milk. I don't feel very essential, and that's not a self-esteem or a humble thing. No, it's, you know what, folks, we could do without milk for a while. I can't explain what we're going to do with the cows. I can't explain what you're going to do with all that milk in the silos. I can't explain to you. Yes, financially, I could stand to not be at work for the next 3 to 4 days. You know why? Because if I go to work for the next, not 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 weeks. If I go to work the next 3 to 4 weeks, being essential, delivering milk, and I die, what was it for? I don't care that much about people having milk. I'm not that milk-triotic. I'm patriotic, but I'm not milk-triotic. I don't care. Who cares about milk? Clogs have been so phlegmy and everything now. It's disgusting. Anyway, I did not, speak of that, by the way, as a representative of the milk industry. I'm just a dum-dum trying to make his way through life. Anyway, so that's what I would do. Shut it down and really, really flatten this curve. Really stop it. That's what I would say. Stop it. As of this date, stop it. Or how about you slowly go across the country? From Maine to like Pennsylvania is this. Pennsylvania to whatever. You do it as a creep across the country. But we have to stop it. Okay. Anyway, so that's a classic conversation. Some people are like, no. We have to live our life as normal. I'm not going to live my life in fear. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's those tough words. You know what? I know somebody that was in my house a couple of weeks ago. There was somebody in my house a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to say who it was. He was all tough. Oh, I'm not going to live my life in fear. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Somebody that he was related to, somebody that he had contact with, had contracted the corona. So now he's quarantined. Somebody in my house. I made eye contact. Oh, I'm not going to live my life that way. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Well, it happened. And not because he was reckless and not because he was careful. Because it just happened. Because we didn't lock it down. And that's how I feel. We got to lock it down. Okay, so let's move on. And there's a lot of classic battles going on in my life. And by the way, so let me just give you a quick backstory, which really has nothing to do with the story I'm about to tell you, but I'm going to give you a quick backstory. When I used to be heavily involved in auto racing, especially the local scene, when I say heavily involved, nobody knew who I was. I was involved. I had a public access radio show, a public access television show. I eventually had an AM radio show, and I talked a little bit about the local racing scene. Yeah, it's mostly dirt racing up here in the Northeast. Okay, so there was a track that I would go to, mostly called Accord Speedway. But it doesn't matter, really. It could be any track. It doesn't even have to be a dirt track. It could be any track. But I'm just describing my experiences at Accord Speedway, because I was an announcer there. I would announce the races. I wasn't the lead announcer. I was, I wasn't the... Well, I did play-by-play. I did do eventually a lot of that. But at first, I was just color commentary, and then I became play-by-play and color commentary. I did both. And I made birthday announcements and all that other craziness. But I was there. I was in the booth every week. So, and I got paid, by the way, which was very nice. So, a lot of guys don't get paid when they do the things they love. So, we had something that I would refer to as a classic battle. You could have two cars, all right? You need at least two cars to have a race. One guy out there is time trials. Two guys out there is racing. You could have two cars. One is set up to run the low line, the inside of the curve and the bottom of the straightaway, all the way around the track. Another car can be set up to run what they call the high line, the top side of the track, closer to the outside wall, away from the pits, closer to the fans. And that car would be geared and set up totally differently to try to win a race. Two cars, they look similar, but they're set up differently. The car that is on the high line, the tires spin faster. There's more rotations because it's covering more real estate, and it might burn a little bit more gas. It's just two different setups, two different gyros, two different alternate, like twins. If you had twins, but this twin likes to go and do everything this way, and the other twin wants the same goal, but does things a totally different way. That's I would refer to as a classic battle, and I would love that, because, I mean, if two cars were doing the same thing, like on the low line or the high line, then chances are it would just be one car in front of the other, because they're not side by side, and the best racing is side by side. So I love the classic battle of one car that you knew was set up to run low, and the other car was set up to run high. Classic battle. That was the best racing that you could ever watch. Why am I telling you that story? Because I am my experience today, or the last couple of days, in reference to this Catain-Crozier, who, by the way, I apologize, I referred to him as Captain Rogers because I'm lazy, and I didn't know his name, so I just made up a name. But the captain of the uss-teddy-roosevelt, who was dismissed and reassigned, as far as I know. I don't know all the details. I just know that he was a captain of a carrier, 4,800 people, as far as I know. Now it's men and women, all right? All different types of enlisted men and officers. He was the captain of the ship. I don't know how long he was captain for. I don't really know his history. I don't know if his history is starred like fantastic, or he has blemishes along the way. I don't really know. All I know is I can tell you this. First of all, he doesn't look that old in his pictures. I don't really know his age. But let me tell you this. For the most part, 99.9% of the time, nobody becomes a captain of a United States vessel. Even more, a carrier, an aircraft carrier. It carries aircraft. Each aircraft in itself is a whole issue. It's a whole thing. It's a beast. Each individual aircraft, the craft of flying in the air, is millions of dollars. So he has I don't even know how much aircraft the Teddy Roosevelt holds. A good podcast host would have that information for you. He has the lives of 4,800 men on board, men and women, that he has to be in charge of. He also is in charge of all this strategy. There is so much responsibility. Not to mention, by the way, the 4,800 lives. Most of those 4,800 lives, let's just assume, everybody knows at least one other person in their life that isn't on that ship. So now we're talking 9,600 lives, right? So every time a person has another person in their life, maybe a wife, maybe a husband, maybe a child, 2 children, 3 children, a mom, a dad, a mom-in-law, a dad-in-law, an uncle, an aunt, and the cousins, and the friends, and neighbors, and co-workers, whatever. 4,800 quickly turns into, 30,000, 40,000, 100,000. It'd be interesting to know. If I was a really, really good podcast host, I would find somebody to do that mathematical formula for me. Do it in your head. Do it yourself. It doesn't matter what number you make up. It's a lot of people. If you were just in charge of 4,800 people, that would be a lot of people. I grew up I didn't grow up. One of these days I will grow up. In the last 23 years, I've been responsible for a woman, my wife, a boy, my son, who's now an older boy, a younger man. We're waiting the results of how this goes, but let's just say, without any sarcasm or cynicism, which, by the way, is another thing this show tries not to have, is to be cynical or sarcastic. A little bit sarcastic, but in a good way. So, 23 years this June. So that's 2 people. We've had 2 dogs, and we've had 2 different cats. All 4 are now deceased. Not my fault. That's just the way it goes. They don't live forever. Just want to make that clear. For the most part, all 4 did not perish because of me. Okay. So, and we also had many vehicles, and we have this house, which is now being slowly renovated, and expensively and slowly renovated, because I neglected it for so many years. I don't know how many lives you've been in charge of, but can you imagine that one day you wake up, and it doesn't happen overnight, you work towards it, but can you imagine that you are in charge of 4,800 people and millions of dollars of aircraft that is, by the way, another level is used to defend the United States of America and other people? I mean, of course, other people. So he's not just in charge of 4,800 people. He's not just in charge of 100 aircraft. He is as valuable as people on the front lines. It's hard to, if you haven't been in the military, you might not be able to understand the enormity of all of that. It is quite an enormous feat. You don't get to be the captain of a Navy vessel. Now, I had a lieutenant commander when I was on the USS Sunbird, which, for all intents and purposes, using a little bit of cynicism and sarcasm, was a glorified tugboat. The Sunbird was a submarine rescue ship. And if I could tell you how many submarines that we were involved in rescuing in the time that the 1 year or so I was on that ship, and probably the 10, 20 years before I got there, I think the amount of submarines that we went to rescue was 0. It was really a diving ship. They had divers on there. Were they officers? No, there was a couple of officers, but most of them were enlisted men. And officers go to college and go to Naval Academy. Enlisted are just everyday Daves and Joes and Janes and whatever. But they were divers, and they would go and dive in the water. And we did salvage maybe or whatever. One day, one of our missions was we were off the coast of Ireland one day, for a couple of days, and we towed around this little yellow submarine. It really was a little yellow submarine called the NR-1. I don't think there's anything top secret. I'm not supposed to be telling you. If it is, they'll come and get me tomorrow. I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. But it was the Navy Research or the Navy Rescue. I think it was Navy Research 1. So obviously it was like the first one of its kind. I never went in it, but it was very small, and they had no enlisted men in there. I don't even think you could walk around. I think it was very small. I don't know if you could walk around. Obviously, you had to. You needed to sleep on there because they would be down for days. And that thing would go deep. Would go pretty deep. And we were looking for the screw, what they call the screw of a submarine. For some reason, I have it in my head, we were looking for the screw from the USS Philadelphia. That a screw came off. You know what? That's in my head. That's my memory of why we were there. I don't know. You know what? Looking back now, I couldn't even tell you if that's true or not. But I have it in my head. That's what we were doing. Looking for the screw. We were towing around. We were following this submarine. I think we would tow it to where it needed to be, and then we would cut the line, and the thing would go down deep. Like you see Jacques Cousteau, whatever. For those of you who are over 40 or 50, Jacques Cousteau. For those of you who don't, or younger, well, sorry, he was a great researcher of the oceans once upon a time. And you would watch the adventures of Jacques Cousteau, along with the Disney movie of the week or whatever, and the other one, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, on Sunday nights. Anyway, so that's what we did. The NR-1 would go down and all that. So the USS Sunbird was a glorified. I give you a little backstory as well as the main story. Trying to give you the classic story, but yeah, I elongate the show a little bit, and we'll probably have to do a part 2 because I'm not prepared to do the show because I have all this stuff I want to read to you, but I don't have it printed, and some of it I do have printed, but it's hard to read and drive at the same time. So anyway, so we had a lieutenant commander. He wasn't a full captain. He was the captain of the boat, but he was a lieutenant commander. Is that higher than captain? You know what? I don't even know if that's higher than captain or lower than captain. It doesn't matter. This guy, they called him captain. Yeah, well, no, it's lower than captain. It has to be. Because on the USS Mobile, I had Captain Knudsen, ex-POW at MIA. And a pilot and all that other stuff. Quite the character. Whew. It's a lot of information. So you don't get to be the captain of a Navy vessel, especially a carrier, with all that immense, super immense, not even immense on steroids. It's like Superman immense. It's like, Only he can, he's affected by the red star or however Superman got his strength. You know what I'm saying? It's not like just, he's strong like Schwarzenegger was. All right? This guy is Superman, has Superman responsibilities. It's a lot. That's how I see it. It's a lot of schooling. It's a lot of adventure. I'm sure he was quite decorated. You see pictures of him with all his badges on his shirt. They don't just, it's not like one of those third world countries where the guy becomes president and buys all those badges. Whatever those things, the medals. This guy actually earned all of those. You don't get to be in charge of a carrier, an aircraft carrier, and be a moron at the same time. You just don't. You're going to get found out. If you're incapable, you're going to get found out. That's how I see it. You might be able to be the captain of a glorified tugboat. You might. But you're just not going to make it up to being the captain of a carrier. It's just not going to happen. So all of this talk for 21 minutes and 21 and a half minutes, way too long, is because of this catain-crozier of the Roosevelt being let go. And I posted some stuff in the Dumbing It Down with Dave Facebook group, and also on the Dave Canyon page, and I forgot where else. Also, I'm a part of a Facebook group from one of my boats, the USS Mobile, which we did have. That was Captain Knutsen's command at the end of his career, and I got a lot of reactions. And the reason why I told you the classic battle, the racing story, the high line and the low line, is because in this particular case, the classic battle is this: you're the captain. You have to abide by the rules of the military. There are very specific rules. They don't really change. I don't want to say they don't change. I want to say they don't really change. It's pretty much, there's a very fine, or whatever you want to call it, line. To the left is, whatever. To the right, and to the right is wrong. You cross that line, you're wrong. So he, allegedly, as far as I know, maybe it's more than allegedly. I don't want to. First of all, you guys know this is Dumbing It Down with Dave. I don't really know a lot about what I'm talking about. I'm trying to get to the human behavior aspect of all of this. So apparently there was a leak. He sent emails out. I don't know exactly who's on that list of emails, but he sent out a message in regards to the safety of the crew and the effect that the coronavirus had on the crew, because certain members of his ship were in fact infected. And he was concerned for the safety. There's 4,800 people on board, as far as I know. And I don't know if there's more than 5,000. I think some of these ships might have had, once upon a time, over 5,000. But again, let's just say there's 4,800. 100 guys get it on that in very small, even though a carrier is huge, it's tight for 5,000. It's tight for 4,800. There are places you can go and get some air, and you could be 6 feet apart. But you don't fight a military. You don't fight, a military doesn't fight mightily at 6 feet apart. It doesn't happen. So I posted a video, I posted the article, some articles of him being dismissed and what led up to him being dismissed. And I posted a video of the crew, I think in one of the cargo bays or one of those bays, and there was hundreds, maybe thousands of them, and they were all chanting, Catain-crozier, clap, 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 Captain. These guys, loved and respected. I'm going to say loved and respected. They adored and admired. Whatever words you want to use, they had a leader that affected them in such a way that they said, "Corona be damned. Corona be damned, they're going out there. And I'm gonna cheer for my captain." And there's a lot of people that just don't understand. I got a lot of comments saying how stupid, how ignorant, blah, 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 negative comments. And it's funny because that had nothing to do with my post. If you looked at the original, what I wrote, not the original, but the actually what I wrote as far as the post, it was all about, this video to me speaks about respect. Respect for their leader. Because that's what he was. He was a leader. He advised the crew. He was in charge. You don't go cheering for him if you don't like him. I work at a company where 5 guys have come and gone in the last 7 years this month. I wouldn't cheer for any one of them. Not any one of them. I wouldn't risk my life for any one of them. I did what I had to do because I'm a dutiful employee. But I would not I would not cheer for any one of them. I would not risk my life. And I get it. Dave, you're a truck driver. But you have to understand, maybe it's different from men, because as boys we play a lot of team sports, and it's always great to be on a team that has that great quarterback or a great coach. It's always great to be on a baseball team, with a great home run hitter and a great coach or whoever. Like, when you're a guy like me, when you're a middle-of-the-road guy like me, and even lower, less than middle-of-the-road, I always, and I've talked about this on the show, to be with somebody who has discipline, to be with somebody who's an expert. I do it to a fault, actually. I go a little bit too far because I let go. I go, you know what? I don't need to be in charge. I don't need to be the star. I can be a supporting player. I am probably a much better supporting player than I am a leader. Almost indefinitely. Not indefinitely, definitely. I would be a better podcaster on somebody else's show that knew what they were doing. That's just the way it is, folks. I would be a much better supporting podcaster on somebody else's show. And I could just show up and go, okay, what do you need me to do? Let's do this. And I have guested on other people's shows. I think those are even better shows than my shows. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. That's not really crucial. But I enjoy working for those people. It could be a woman, too. I really don't care. I have no bias. I have worked with women comedians who I've respected. I in the workplace, I can work with a woman. I can work with a man. It doesn't matter. But if you got to be effective. You got to be clear and concise, effective, determined, aggressive, compassionate, empathetic, all those things. Apparently, Catain-Crozier was a lot of those things. Probably not to everybody. And in the video I show you, it's not 4,800. As far as I can tell, and by the way, it's just logic. It's not 4,800 people risking their lives to cheer for him, because a lot of people can't leave their duty station. They were obviously moored to the pier. There were ropes were tied around, and the ship wasn't going anywhere. This was all very sudden, all very last minute. 1 minute they're out in the ocean, the next minute they're pulling into Guam. The classic battle is he broke a rule. He might have leaked out the information, or he did leak out the information. But his concern was for the 4,800 other people on his ship, not his career. He felt that he wasn't getting the justice that he wanted by going up the chain of command. So he went out of the chain of command. 28 minutes into the show, maybe I should have just led with that. How do you feel about the chain of command? I totally respect the chain of command. I totally get it. And unfortunately, I'm still a supporter of it, because in the workplaces I've gone to, for a large part, not the most part, chain of command is not followed. The place that I work on now, there is no chain of command. I don't know who's in charge. And it doesn't even matter if there is somebody sitting in that room, sitting at that desk. I don't know if he's in charge. I can pretty much tell you he's not. Somebody is in charge at a different location. He's not even the captain of this ship. He's just like a Walmart greeter. Whatever. I don't want to get all down on my job and in my company, but whatever. It's not... I haven't worked for an effective leader in a long time, and I miss that. I would love that. And I'm sure a lot of the guys at my job would love it too. And I think it's even more of a prerequisite or a wish if you are, in fact, an ex-military person. You just really get it. Like, oh, I get it. I see what he's doing, and I totally get it. I'm with that guy. I'm with that program. I buy into the program. I think Bill Parcells, former Super Bowl winning coach of the New York Giants, said, it doesn't even matter who you are as a coach. If you can get your team to buy into your program, you're going to win. That's what you got to do. You got to get them to buy into the program. I hope to do maybe another show on this. I'm not really sure. I have pieces of paper. I have all these things I wanted to read to you. I have reactions. Look on my Dumbing It Down with Dave Facebook group, and you'll see the article, and you can react there or on Twitter or anywhere you can. All right, folks? Good to talk to you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dumbing It Down with Dave. Goodbye, good day, good night, good luck, good riddance, good rats, Godspeed.